Welcome to the Ecom Profit Podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Sinkula, and today we have a very special guest, Sterling Jones, who is the CEO of JOJO's Chocolate, and we're going to talk about all things growing your business, vision, mission, purpose, why do you do what you do, all those kinds of things. But welcome to the show, Sterling. I'm so happy to have you. I've been excited to have you for a long time. Can't wait to dig in.
Thank you so much. Thrilled to be here. It's a pleasure, and any chance I get to talk about my mom JoJo and why we do what we do, I'm thrilled. So I appreciate the opportunity.
So let's talk a little bit about JoJo's Chocolate to begin with. Okay,
Yeah,
so we've done homework and I've read up on you and things like that. But for those people who maybe aren't as familiar with your brand or don't know kind of the story behind it, tell me a little bit about what happened, kind of how it came to be.
absolutely. So I always tell people I started the brand for two reasons. My mom is first and foremost. She's my hero. She's always been somebody who I've looked up to and admired. And in 2012, she was diagnosed with cancer. In 2019, she ended up passing away from breast cancer. And throughout that journey, I was amazed over and over again by her. She fought it and lived with what I describe her life as. Internally, we call it LOF. It's love, optimism, faith, fight, and fun. And that's really our compass and what we're trying to build from a culture standpoint internally. And it's really what I want people to live and feel through the brand, which is love. And so I tell people all the time, from day one, I wanted to spread love through JoJo's and have her hopefully be that example and what people can look to and aspire to be like. People say to me all the time, "Oh, it's so cool you're carrying on her legacy," and I love that. I appreciate people saying that. For me, it's less about carrying on a legacy because I mean she had no intention of starting a brand. Like her life goal wasn't to build a chocolate company, right? It was really to have an amazing family, and live life, full of love. And so I want to inspire people to live like JoJo. And then second is help people fight sugar. While I started this early on, I was like, wow, just came to learn that the average American consumes 70 grams of sugar or more a day, and the
Right.
recommended amount is about 30. And so we're eating more than two times the amount we should, and we need solutions. So internally, we call it all the time spread love, fight sugar is really who we are, what we're about. And the way we do that is through delicious dark chocolate snacks.
I love that. I love that so much. I also have had a family member with really severe cancer,
Sorry to hear
who's
that.
been fighting cancer for a very, very long time. My sister actually, and I learned a lot about sugar and sugar consumption and how terrible sugar and cancer actually
Totally.
are for each other, right? It
Totally.
kind of feeds off of that. And so, very similar to you as we've gone through the journey of understanding health and exploring wellness and really recognizing that sugar is kind of at the heart of like all things bad, finding
Mhm.
alternative options for people has been really hard. And so
Right.
when you struggle across, come across yours and you see somebody who's made it's good, first of all, because I've tried your product many times.
Thank
It's
you. Thank
actually
you. Thank
quite
you.
good. And there's a real solid mission behind what you're doing and why you did it, which I think is amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And it
want to,
really comes down to that excess amount of sugar. Like we consume so much. And yeah, it's arguably the worst thing to eat while fighting cancer. And
exactly.
what's so hard is like then there becomes so much stress around that, right? And so then you
Right.
add this stress about sugar on top of
Right.
sugar. And
Right.
so my mom was like, I just need something that I can like plan on having a little snack every day. I
Yeah.
know I get my bite of chocolate. And it frankly it works for people who aren't or not works, but that train of thought really resonates with people who aren't even battling cancer. It's like, hey,
Right.
I know I should eat better. Oh, I get to look forward to a bite of dark chocolate or a bite of this chocolate snack. I
Yeah.
can
I
say
love it.
no to all the other things. So that's where really we solve a pain point for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I love that at the mission and the core of why you do and what you've continued to do. And I know from my experience, I worked at Target as a senior leader for many years for them. And we have other clients that we work with at the agency that are in the food space, right? Specifically. And it's a really hard industry to make your name right? And you guys have managed, JoJo's managed to break out as one of the top, let's call it healthy alternatives, right? Or healthy foods. Tell us, besides from having an amazing product, which I think is kind of, critical to all good, stores, right? Or all good products. What's probably like the success you think in your specific industry that's really helped you stand out or move the business forward?
Yeah, great question. I will say, like, first and foremost, to me, it comes down to taste. Like,
Yeah.
it depends what category you're in, right? Frankly, like protein bars, you can get away with things that aren't like delicious, right? Or even other categories,
Right.
you know, chocolate, you gotta have taste. You've got to have
Yeah.
taste first and foremost. And so what I hear over and over again when we do demos and events is people being, wow, did not expect it to taste that good. And so to deliver over and over again on taste in a
Mhm.
category that, I mean, at the end of the day, you're buying chocolate because
Yeah.
you want to indulge, you want to taste
Yeah.
something that's good. And to then on top of that say, hey, by the way, this is half the sugar of your average candy bar. And so those two combos really help us stand out. On top of that is we do something unique, which is add a little bit of plant-based protein in the chocolate.
Mm,
So you really have got great balance between carbs, protein, and sugar. So you're not going to experience your typical blood sugar spikes when eating
right.
JoJo's.
Right.
And I'd like to say my mom was a food scientist, but she wasn't. However, somehow she really
She
delivered
managed to figure it out.
delivered on this. Like, that was
Yeah.
her whole goal, was like, I'm tired of like the crash after candy and the highs and lows. And so it was a lot of experimenting though. She tried so many different recipes, and so although she was a food scientist, it wasn't just like, okay, I tried this recipe and it worked. Like, it was a lot of experimenting.
I'm
And
sure.
so kind of those combinations, delicious, nutritionals,
Yeah.
and the added protein.
Yeah.
And then you've got to throw in there, obviously, the story and the reason we do what we do. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, in this category, frankly, any startup, any new category, relentlessness is everything.
Yeah.
And we've continued to test and try and lean into what works, and then continue to lean in there. And fortunately, we have people that just love JoJo's, and so we know we have something, and it's a matter
Yeah.
of next is like getting that message and getting our why and the reason to believe in JoJo's out there.
Absolutely. I love that. So quality, good product, good message, right? And it really boils down to that. But yet it seems so challenging for so many business owners, right? And we have listeners that are at every stage and the business. They've just started, middle, growing, kind of all that kind of stuff. For you, if you could turn the clock back, okay, and you could kind of share some advice with people, maybe when you first started or you really first realized, like, hey, we're going to really make this into something, what would be that piece of advice that you would give yourself or others kind of at the beginning?
So good. So good. Oh, there's a lot, but usually go to like kind of what's most recent, most pressing. Um, I would say for me, it's lean into what's working.
Mm,
So something that hurt us for a while is we kind of got out over our skis of like hiring, assuming the growth would come, going a
yeah.
little bit too wide from product, from uh branding, from messaging, and really like focus on why you're starting the company in the first place.
Mm,
Early on it was like literally just satisfy sugar cravings. And then we
yep.
got a little bit too wide and like tried different things and went a little too wide in messaging. And now we've come back to like what's working,
Yeah.
lean into that over and over and over again. And some people would say, well, then you're kind of a concentration issue. And I'm like, any new company is going to have that. You've
Right.
got to lean into what's working, do that enough over and over again to one, have enough like money and profit to then go into the next
Yeah.
area, whether that's a different category. So I would say try to find as quickly as you can what's working, the people that love your brand, and do that over and over again
Mm,
until you build up enough money and profit or whatever it may be to then go into the next.
yeah.
it takes a long time to tap out of a certain market, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
for us,
Good point.
that's been super impactful, is to lean into what works for us, find that out. And it's a quote that I do not like because it's true. You know, those quotes that you're like, I don't like that one, even though it's true. It's why you don't like it. One of those for me early on was, make sure I don't say it incorrectly. You can't be something for everybody, but you can be everything for somebody, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
like,
Yes.
don't.
That's great.
And I was like, no, like I can be something for everybody. Like
Yeah.
everybody loves chocolate. Everybody
Mhm.
wants to eat healthier. And it's like, no, that's not true. Not everybody
Right.
likes dark chocolate. Not everybody's trying to eat less sugar.
Sure. Right.
And so focus on, hey, we are delicious dark chocolate, and there are so many people just there.
Right.
Don't try to go everywhere. And so over time, we've leaned into that over and over again and doing so much better that way.
Riches are in the niches, right? I think that's another one that I kind of
Totally,
always think,
totally.
well, is it? But it
Yeah.
is. And I hear it
Mhm.
over and over again to kind of
Yep.
lean into what's working.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we got on, you mentioned something, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here about brand ambassadors, right? And using brand ambassadors to kind of grow your business. I want to shift a little bit in talking about this journey, because you have both an online brand that you sell from but you're also in stores.
Yep.
You're kind of growing and expanding in all different types of markets. Tell me a little bit about, how you've been able to do that. Has it been through brand ambassadors? Has it been just like, has it been very strategic that you're going to go into retail first and then grow online second? Or kind of talk a little bit about how the growth has progressed and how you've done that.
Yeah. So early on, it was classic sleeping in my car, selling to CrossFit gyms, yoga studios, right? Like
Right.
just trying to figure out farmers markets, that stuff.
Right. Right.
Then realized I was going to starve to death if I kept doing that. So got online, and there's less barriers to entry
Yeah.
on Amazon and on a website. So started there, and Amazon is where we started to see consistent repeat business, and really dove into the Amazon algorithm and just that world,
Mhm.
and started having success. And so that enabled us to say, hey, here's how many reviews we have. Here's the repeat business. Here's what's going on Amazon, to then take it to retail. And for food, retail is still king. Like you've
Yeah.
got to win in retail. Now, I would say, you asked earlier if I could go back. That is actually something I would go back, and I would delay retail, and I
Mm,
would build a much stronger online following. I will say in chocolate, it is definitely harder than in this space. Like you see Magic Spoon, who's cereal, much easier
yeah.
to ship cereal online.
Yep.
Protein bars, much easier, even protein. So that is the
Yeah.
one caveat I'd say, is like we had to, my mom and I early on, we'd make chocolate all day. We'd wait till 9 p.m., cool down our car, drive to the USPS store at 9:30, throw it on there before it melted. Like,
Right.
so
No, I get it.
that's one
Yeah.
I'd call out, was like, yeah, chocolate was hard to just build an online community. But
Yeah.
I would say there's so much power in building this community first before you go into retail. So coming back to your question, grew on Amazon, but then realized we got to go into retail. And so I had at least a story I could share of, people love this. We've got reviews, we know. And then we went to Sprouts first,
Mm,
because we knew natural, better for you. And they gave us the opportunity. They rolled us out nationwide. That was a wild experience. The story of my first pitch meeting, the buyer took a bite and threw it away. And I thought, oh, great. He didn't like that. But I quickly learned, he loved it. And he had samples all day. So he can't eat a full bar, everything.
right.
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 So,
Well, you can't eat a
but
full sample of every person that
but
comes in, right?
my first thought was, okay, well, this
That's
isn't
the end.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, we got Sprouts early on, enabled us to, try it and learn it. And then, in terms of like a brand growth, we actually went to Costco pretty early on,
Hmm.
from what your typical maybe brand trajectory would be. But we were able to start small and say, like, let's try 15 buildings. And we just were able to demo and demo and demo. And that's something we learned, is when we can get JoJo's in people's hands, get them to try it, we have
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
Because that wow factor with JoJo's of, whoa, it only has 8 grams of sugar and it tastes good, So
Right.
that was the trajectory, was Amazon, a natural food store, Sprouts, and then local Whole Foods, club for us. And while that, we still had online going,
Yeah.
and then of course we hit COVID. So buyers stopped taking meetings and we pivoted and really leaned in online and
Yeah.
just grew 10x, even more than that, exponentially on online. And then as soon as stores opened back up, it's like, okay, let's go back and let's go get into retail.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, for a little bit there, we were going too wide though. We really
Mm.
went, we call it inch deep, mile wide.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we realized, no, we should have gone a mile deep, like just natural or just West Coast. We've since pivoted and pulled back a little and said, we're focusing on where we are. We're going to
Yep.
win in these retailers and then continue to grow from there.
So let's talk about the online space a little bit more, because we've got so many people that are, doing online businesses, and
Yeah.
they've thought about going to retailers, but they're really struggling kind of just even to make the imprint. You talked about Amazon as part of that journey for you on your own brand, your own store. What are some things that you did consistently to continue to grow that brand, that you could give advice to other people on that? Because a lot of
Yeah.
times people think, well, it's a saturated market, whether it's in food or health and beauty or whatever, it's so
Yeah.
saturated. How do you stand out? You have a good product, so on and so forth. That's really hard when you have never tasted it,
Very
or
true.
it's not something you can really see, clothing wise or skin wise or things like that. So how did you kind of go through, the online journey space in something that really I think has to, be tasted to make sure that it's good before you buy it, kind of thing?
So true.
Mm.
That's where like chocolate is a battle. And then you gotta focus on average order value, right? If you're gonna make any
Yeah.
money online. And when somebody's used to going into a grocery store spending $2 to $5 on chocolate, and now you're
Yeah.
asking them to spend 40 or $50,
Yeah.
tougher.
Hard.
So
Yeah.
so to answer that question, some things we did that worked well was we definitely worked on like offers. We didn't want to be a discount brand. We also
Mhm.
realized exactly what you just said though, like in order for somebody to try it, you've got to have like a reason. You got to say like, so we did a lot of landing pages that
Yep.
we tested different offers. And it wasn't just like get 50% off. We tried to do more like buy two to get one. So at least didn't feel like a discount brand. It felt more
Yeah.
like a promotion. And I think
Got it.
there's a big
Yep.
difference in terms of discounts versus promotions, just from the perception. So we did a lot of landing pages that we tried buy three get one, or we different things like that
Hmm.
helped. The other thing that helped us was finding the right influencers. Influencers is tough though. Like it depends on your industry and all
Yeah.
that, and depends
Right.
how
Right.
much
Right.
margin you have. But when you find the influencers that work, that really can say the right message. And something we did was, whitelisting, where we work with influencers and run those through their page
Yeah.
so that it's showing up as them talking about the brand, driving to a landing page that resonates with exactly what they were saying and an offer. That combo seemed to work well for us, and a lot
Hmm.
of that was Facebook,
Yeah.
and learning that. And then as well on top of that, just testing
Yeah.
worked well. Like we would be surprised how often like we would do a carousel ad of just delicious photos and that outperform this nice video we made.
Right.
And something I would definitely warn of is like, also don't go get ahead of yourself of like, oh, this is working, let's go do a huge production and make a massive video when you haven't truly nailed the message that works.
Yeah.
That's speaking from experience.
Yeah.
We did that and
Right.
it completely flopped. And
Yeah.
so being able to continually just try to say, okay, let's add every week, let's add an extra, whatever, maybe like 5% or 10% better, or 5% better every week, and keep improving. Um,
Yeah.
and online, there's so many different levers to pull. So that you also have to recognize, for me, was like, okay, I can't do all of it. I can't
Yeah.
do website optimization. I can do and just make things a little bit better each week or each month and
Right.
get to the point where, yeah, I've fully optimized my site. I've got everything firing,
Yep.
but give yourself a little time to keep improving.
Right.
And you can do that if you're not gambling several hundred thousand on a video.
Right. Right. I think the interesting thing that you said about the influencer pieces is a lot of people feel like that's a really hard thing to do, right? As a small brand, to get influencers to
It is.
even, be interested in that. Do you have any tips or advice for how you did that with influencers? Did you hire a company to help you with influencers? Did you literally just go scrolling on Facebook and Instagram and find people and said, hey, do you
Yeah,
want some product?
totally.
You know?
And
Yeah,
even in just the last 12, 24 months, the landscape has changed. You
sure.
know,
Yeah,
I
completely.
mean, when we were doing it, we'd scroll and we just message, and we really took the approach of, we're a small brand, got an awesome story, an awesome product. Would you try it? And we
Yeah,
just tried that. And if we got people to get it in their mouths and then them reach out and say, oh, I'd love to work with you. From there, we could negotiate how, whether it was, we did a lot of affiliate early on with just paying commission because we couldn't afford, here's
yeah.
$2,000 for a post. You
Right.
know, you also got to be very, call it self-aware or brand aware, on
Yeah,
your industry. You can't compare yourself. I did the mistakes of comparing myself to the beauty industry. They
yeah.
have such different margins. So you got to be
Exactly.
careful.
Right.
You got to
Right.
be careful. We're like, oh
Right.
man, it's totally working for them. And you recognize, well, yeah, it works for them. One, people buy way more beauty products online than they do chocolate.
Yep.
And beauty has way better margins online. So you
Yep.
just got to be super hyper aware of who you're comparing yourself to and
Yeah.
making sure you don't get yourself into trouble of being like, well, okay, they pay 2,000. I got to try that. It's like, doesn't, that's a lot of bags of chocolate.
It doesn't equate quite the same, right?
So yeah, just be hyper aware of that.
Yeah.
And then, and as best you can,
Yeah.
test and learn and then keep growing quickly. And
Yeah.
I like that's a
I
pretty
love that.
common theme, but
Yeah. Yeah.
hard to do at times.
What would you say? Okay, this is probably a deep philosophical question, but what would you say has probably been the one most important thing that you've learned on your business journey so far in this area? What would you say if you had to narrow it down?
People, uh,
People. Okay. Talk to me
people
about
like
that. What is that?
in one word, I'd
Yeah.
summarize it as people. I remember
Okay.
having a mentor who said to me early on, like, people's going to be hard. Is going to be hard for you because you're all heart. I was like,
Mm,
well, why? I love people, and I just I think I get it from my mom. Like I naturally love people,
yeah.
which can in the end be hard because of that. So what I mean by that is learning, trying to be super clear on expectations when you hire people, as
Yeah.
well as I used to be like, oh, I like them, like they'll work, and then also recognizing if you are a founder, an entrepreneur, like recognize people aren't wired the same way as you. And
Yeah.
so when you think, oh, everybody's gonna work as much as me or everybody's gonna be as invested as me, like that's not realistic to think that, nor should it be your expectation. So if you're not clear up front, I used to be like a little hesitant of like that I might scare them away when I lay out the expectations. I've
Right.
since realized if I scare them away, that's good for both of us because
Yeah.
one, they aren't stepping into a situation that's not going to work for them, and two, it's good for me because then I don't hire somebody that it's not going to work out for.
Right.
So the hiring, like there's kind of aspects of the people thing, the hiring of the right people, being very, very clear on expectations. And if you scare some people away, consider that a good thing because it wasn't the right fit for either of you.
Yeah.
Two, candor of with people. And once you hire people, recognizing candor, great feedback, like truly is love. And that's one
Mhm.
of our pillars here is want people to feel love through the brand, want people to feel love for each other here. And if you really care about somebody, you're going to be candid. You're going to give feedback. You're going
Right.
to provide opportunities for them to grow and learn. And so that's been hard. Been
Yeah.
very hard to approach. Gotten better at it for sure. And then lastly, at the end of the day, business is people. And so,
Yeah.
once you find those people that you can work with and also taking care of them, and not in a way of like overpaying necessarily, but obviously taking care of people and
Yeah.
finding out for people what matters.
Hmm.
And that will save you in the long run, big time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And short term, not just long run, but in the short term too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's very much at the mission of who we are at the agency as well as, we want to work with people who want to make the world a better place, who value people, planet, those types of things. And
Cool.
having that, I think, at your core and your mission is so important and it keeps you kind of on the straight and narrow. So I love hearing that. That's really exciting. So Okay, final question here as we start to wrap it up. I can't believe we've already talked for as long as we have. I feel like I could talk forever, but
Totally.
tell me what is on the horizon now for
Yeah.
JoJo's. What's coming next? What is something that you're really working on and you're excited about? Whether it's new product, new, category, new place you're gonna go. What's on the horizon?
Ooh, so many things. So you gotta get, speaking of focus and clarity, not going too wide, I always have to rein myself in. Um, so we just launched a brand new peanut butter filled bar. It's this creamy peanut butter filled bar. So I'll talk about
Ooh,
flavors first. And everything we've done is like, instead of just innovating super wide, we're taking a look at what we have and improving. So this peanut butter, we've made it more creamy, and it is hands down the best peanut butter product out there. It is phenomenal. And we just launched in 8 Costco, well, every Costco region in the country, 8 out of 8, rolling out between January and April. And so that's happening / on the horizon that we're super excited about.
yum.
On top of that, we got some this year around Christmas time. We have a phenomenal peppermint pretzel item. Oh my gosh, it's so
Ooh,
good because we've taken what we all eat every year, which are those pretzel crisps, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, do not have the best ingredients. And
yeah.
so we've taken that and made it phenomenal. We use a gluten-free pretzel. It's cassava flour, super clean, low sugar, no color dyes in the peppermint. It's an incredible product. So
Amazing.
that's from a product standpoint. Internally at JoJo's, we just extended and are bringing on a brand leader, VP of brand starting next week.
Mhm.
So thrilled to make this brand come to life. And for us, it's I think we have not, I don't think, I know we haven't tapped into the brand potential here. And so to
Yeah.
have him on and lead that charge, I can't wait. I think we really can accomplish some great things, uh, making that brand come to life.
Oh, I'm excited to see it. I'm
Yeah,
excited. That's amazing. Well, okay. So, of course, people want to know where they can find you and
cool.
where can they buy your products. Tell us where it's the best place to go.
Absolutely. As I just mentioned, Costco, feel free to grab it at your Costco. We're in Sprouts nationwide, select Targets, and then of course online, Amazon, our website, Thrive Market, great places to find it.
Mm,
For us, find us at JOJOS on Instagram. So JoJo's, LinkedIn, feel free to connect Sterling Jones, with JoJo's. Find me there, and we love feedback. We love to hear how y'all enjoy the
yeah.
product.
Love it. Well, we'll drop all of those links in the show notes so that everybody can go get themselves several bags and watch for new upcoming products. This will be amazing. Sterling, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I know it's really inspiring and I know it'll help a lot of our listeners. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure to be here.
All right, everybody, stay tuned for the next episode dropping next week. And if you have any questions for Sterling or for JoJo's in particular, you can drop your questions below here in our question and answer box. And we'll be sure to get that to Sterling and get those questions answered for you. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time.